essentials, and our focus is on God. These are the 5 essentials that we will be discussing. Last week, we talked about life and how it is precious and short, but it is in God's hand. And we need to live with purpose. This evening, with life, however long or short, we need to take the God factor into consideration. Life is not in our hands. We did not choose where to be born, when to born, and when to die. Only God can make these choices. So it is important, because we are human and feeble and limited in our span. The first thing that we all need to consider is God, because God can, and we cannot. There are 3 kinds of people, generally speaking, as far as God is concerned. There are those who believe in God. They acknowledge a higher power than themselves. Then there are those who do not believe in God. And in between, there are those who are agnostic, meaning that they do not know whether there is a God or not. And yet, as we look at the world around us, there is consistency and there is design. For example, just look at the eye. Sometimes we think that we can substitute one eye for just a marble. But actually, it is more than just a marble. It has all kinds of layers of functioning tissues. And it is unlikely that the human being is a result of evolution, but created by God, as the Bible says. But we don't have to look into the human being. Just look at some inanimate object, just like a watch. And nobody would say that this watch came out of itself. Or you put some spare parts into a bag, shake it, and hope that the watch will come out as a result. There is a maker, because there is a design. I'm going to share with you some data, mainly on America, because there's not been as much research done about what is taking place in Singapore and other parts of the world. But in America, 73% believe in God on the Christian basis. 63%, which is almost as high, do not believe in God. You may wonder why these figures do not add up to 100%, but there is some leeway in getting the results. Also, a very high number of those who are agnostic, and even higher, people who don't believe in anything in particular. We sometimes think of America as a Christian nation, but from this data, it can swing either way. Also, on the American situation, a question was asked: what gives people meaning in life? And faith is right at the bottom, just one level above pets. This is really quite ridiculous, but this is the situation. This data is taken from Singapore, and same question is asked, but faith did not go all the way to the bottom. It is number 12. I think the more developed a nation is, more people seems to drift away from God. And countries that are not very prosperous, like in India, you find more people clinging on to faith in having meaning in life. And so tonight, as we look on the matter of God, the first thing I want to say is that there are some people who do not believe in God. And there are famous people, intelligent people, that do not believe in God. Psalms 14:1. The Bible says, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God." When you think about a feeble, limited human being who is not able to control when he's born, when he's going to die, to make a statement like, there is no God, these people are not making it on the best basis of reason. It is like rats who have lived underground in the sewer all their life, saying that there is no human being. And yet the very place that these rats multiply in abundance were created by human beings. And just because they don't come out of the gutter and cannot see the human being, it does not mean that there is no human being. Like we cannot see God. And so, there are some who do not believe. They are atheists, a person who does not believe on any God or higher power. And it could be an intelligent guy like Charles Darwin. Then there are others who do not believe and are agnostic, who think there may be a God and they may be not a God, but they don't believe either way firmly. One time, our late Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew, was asked about his faith, and he says that I am agnostic. He did not deny God, but he did not believe in God either. Secondly, we need to understand that God created us, like the rats in the sewer who runs around. God created us in this world that we may live. Genesis 1:1, first verse of the Bible. The Bible states very clearly, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. John puts it even more detailed. John 1:1-4. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him. Without him was not anything made that has been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of man. God created the world. God created everything in the world. And God created us in his image. And because of this, all human beings are equal. And we need to accord respect and honor for everyone. There's so much racism in the world. And some people think that they are better than others because they are of a certain race. And many people, innocent people, has been killed because they are just different. I think we maybe should have some judgment whether a person is good or not good, honest or not honest, evil or kind. But we can never differentiate people because of the color of their skin, because God created us and we are all precious and equal in God's sight. The third thing we want to consider as we discuss the subject of God is that God reconciles us to him. God created us, God sustains us, and yet we did not receive him. And we have all, like sheep, gone astray. But God took the initiative. He loved us so much that He sent His Son, Jesus, to come into this world in the form of a human and to die on the cross, that God might reconcile us back to Him. Ephesians 2:14 to 19 talks about how God sent Jesus and how through Jesus He might reconcile us back to Him so that we can be together, not as strangers or foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God. God wants us back. It is like a long time ago, mankind sinned against God, and the devil owns us because the wages of sin is death. And so God goes to the devil and asks the devil, I want my children back. How much? And the devil says, the blood of your Son, Jesus Christ. And so God sent Jesus to reconcile us back to Him. And this is where the word redemption or redeem come from, to buy back, because of our sin. When we are baptized and have returned back to God, God has made us fellow citizens of the household of God. But He did not take us to heaven so that we can, as we go back to our family, to our school, and our work, reconcile others who have not yet come back to Him, to God. It is important for us to understand that it is God that sustains us. We're all familiar with the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 6, where Christ tells us not to be anxious for our life. Then He points out to the lilies of the field. And Jesus said, God so clothed the grass of the field. Won't He much more clothe you, or you of little faith? Jesus is saying in no uncertain terms that it is God that sustains us. Sometimes we are so clever and we think that we don't need anyone and we don't need God, that we can take care of ourselves through our own intelligence. And there are some people who describe themselves as self-made men. I wonder, did he born himself? His mother made him. He did not make himself. And his father has a part in his creation. And when he wakes up in the morning, a lot of factors went into play so that he can survive. Good air, petrol for the car and bus to take him to work, others who contribute to his well-being, especially the food that he eat. And so there's really no such thing as a self-made man. All these things I mentioned about comes from God. And this is what Psalms 54 tells us, that the Lord is the one who sustains me. If you put your dependence on anyone other than God, the time will come when they will fail you. And finally, for each one of us, the church is our safe place where we find encouragement. It is like going out into the wilderness, finding lost sheep, and bringing them back to the fold. And this is all a part of the eternal purpose of God, right before the creation of the world, as this chart will emphasize. The church is conceived by God before the foundation of the world. It has been prophesied in the Bible and has become a reality at Pentecost, 30 AD. It is there so that we can live, find purpose, worship, reach out, and glorify God. And so tonight, as we explore the second of the 5 essentials, God, what will you do? Will you choose to believe in God, or not to think about it very much, or to totally deny the existence of God? God, who created us, has a plan for us. Plans to prosper and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and future. We know as we go through life, things can become difficult. The body may be inflicted with many diseases, and we may encounter all kinds of issues in life. But we can trust God. He has plans to give us hope and a future. There's no need for you to devise all kinds of plans, because the Lord's purpose will prevail in the end. So if you have life, let me encourage you that you put your faith and your hope in God.